You already feel it, don't you? There's something not being said, not loud, not visible, but constant. You feel watched, but not in a way that threatens, in a way that waits. You feel it when he enters the room, when his silence sharpens the air, when everyone else is laughing, but his eyes are still on you. This isn't about romance, it's about presence. It's about that one person who stays close without ever stepping forward, and yet never far enough to disappear. If this touched something inside you, leave a like and write your city. I want to know how far our voices can travel. Let's continue. You keep telling yourself it's nothing. You explain it away. He's just kind, just quiet, just polite. But you know the truth lives somewhere between your shoulder blades, where your body goes rigid without permission, where a part of you holds its breath every time he looks over. You've buried it, but it never decays. You remember the night he stood closer than usual. He said nothing, but everything in your skin said this isn't new, it's old. It's been waiting. That's the thing about silent love. It doesn't knock. It seeps through cracks, through calendars, through years you thought were yours alone. And now, one sign is enough to split open what's been rotting quietly. One gesture, one word, one glance that lingers a second too long. The sign is never loud, it's never bold. It's in the pause, the stutter, the tremor in his voice when your name enters the room before you do. You don't want to believe it, because believing means going back to every moment you thought you were alone and realizing you were never unwatched. It's not flattering, it's invasive. It's not love, it's latency. And it's here now. If this decision had to be made now, what would yours be? Speak now or wait for confirmation? Reply, speak or wait. We continue. You were taught to be polite, to be soft, to not accuse without proof. But what if your proof is the way your breath skips every time his shadow touches yours? You don't need evidence, you have symptoms. Insomnia that never leaves, a tightness in your throat during meetings, avoiding eye contact when the topic scrapes too close. You've adapted around him, you've made excuses for his presence, but deep down your body has never stopped bracing, and now you understand why. He never touched you, but you were touched. He never said it, but you heard it. He never asked, but something in you kept answering. This isn't about whether he meant harm. This is about the harm already done by silence stretched over too many years. Love, when unsaid, becomes possession. Unclaimed feelings rot into expectation. You were never given the choice. He just waited for you to arrive at the answer he already decided for you. But now you see it. The sign, the shift, the undeniable. It could be the way he says your name now, too soft. Or how he remembers things you never told him twice. Or how he disappears whenever someone new enters your life. You are not imagining. You are remembering. And memory is the most dangerous evidence, because it holds what you once swallowed and spits it back whole. He loved you in silence for years, but now the silence is loud. Too loud. It breaks plates. It breaks peace. It breaks the version of your past you thought was untouched. You wonder if you owe him something. Kindness, a conversation, closure. You don't. What you owe is to yourself, to believe your own discomfort, to trace the unease back to its source and not apologize for recognizing it. He waited. Not because he respected you, but because he believed you'd come around. You won't. You're not the same person he watched from the shadows. You've built rooms he can't enter, doors he never learned to knock. And now when he looks at you, he sees someone he doesn't recognize, and it terrifies him, because he was in love with the version of you that didn't see it. Now you do. Breathe. You don't need to answer yet. Just notice. You might be tempted to say it was harmless. He never crossed a line. But lines aren't just crossed with hands. They're crossed with entitlement, with presence that demands without speaking, with feelings that tie themselves to you without your permission. This was not mutual. It was parasitic. He fed on the idea of you, not the you that exists, the you that stood still, the you that needed saving, the you that stayed quiet. But you're not quiet anymore. Even if you never say a word, your eyes say I know, and that's louder than anything he ever said. You walk into a room now, and his smile falters, because the game only works when the player doesn't know they're in it. And now you know. The sign revealed everything. It didn't scream, it whispered. But the truth inside that whisper was enough to rearrange everything. Let it rearrange you. Let the anger be sacred. Let the betrayal be real. Let the weight of being silently chosen without consent be a wound you no longer hide. He thought love was something he could hide behind his back and still hand to you fully formed. But love, Real love asks. It doesn't assume. It doesn't haunt. It doesn't wait like a shadow behind your joy. You were never his to love in silence, and now you choose. Silence him back, or speak. Not for him, for you. For the version of you that deserves love, with doors wide open, with names spoken out loud, with hands that ask before they touch. You were never confused, you were just kind, too kind, and now kindness looks different. It looks like distance, it looks like knowing. It looks like never pretending again. You don't owe a single word, but if you ever speak, let it be for your own liberation. Not to explain, not to soften, but to say, I saw, I know, and I'm not coming back to that silence. Breathe. You don't have to respond yet. Just witness what's rising. He loved you in silence for years, but now the silence is broken by your clarity, by your boundary, by the echo of your own voice finally returning to you. And now, the silence is broken, but it echoes differently, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. You start tracing back the places your body shrank without ever being touched. How you'd suddenly cross your arms, shift your weight, laugh too loudly, to drown out something that wasn't even said. It wasn't the words, it was the watching. It was the knowing that someone else had already made a version of you in their mind and was waiting for you to match it. You were never asked if you wanted to be seen that way. You were just watched, held in a gaze you never consented to, and somewhere along the line you started dimming. You dimmed to survive the closeness, to stay unnoticed by the thing that noticed you too much, to become invisible in a room where someone was always imagining, owning, completing you. This wasn't love. It was fixation wearing a soft face. It was obsession in silence. It was hunger without language. And still, you blamed yourself. You told yourself you were paranoid, too sensitive, that no one meant anything by it, that maybe you were just difficult, distant, cold. But deep down, you were protecting something. Your space, your breath, your name, spoken on your terms, not whispered in empty rooms when you're not there. There were signs. There were always signs. The way he remembered your favorite scent, without you ever telling him. The way he never dated anyone seriously, because in his head, he was just waiting for you. The way he asked about things you hadn't posted anywhere. The way he always happened to be nearby when you were rawest, vulnerable, tired. You thought it was fate. It was a pattern. It wasn't a coincidence. It was a choreography. He studied you like a role he was preparing for. Years of rehearsing the perfect moment, but it was never his moment to claim. You never offered him the stage. Still, he built the scene, and now you're standing inside it, and it feels wrong, claustrophobic, like walking into a room that's been waiting too long for you, like opening a letter you never wanted, but somehow your name is written on it in perfect handwriting. Insomnia that doesn't leave, a pressure in your chest when his name appears, avoiding his eyes in photos, because they always look like they know too much. This isn't about overreacting. This is about remembering where your body told you the truth before your mind could catch up. It's not about blame. It's about seeing clearly what was always there. You didn't miss it. You buried it. Because facing it meant questioning every shared laugh, every harmless gesture, every time you felt watched but smiled anyway. You didn't imagine it. You endured it. And now, you're done enduring. The sign was subtle, but your reaction was not. You flinched. You froze. You left the room and couldn't say why, but your body knew, it always knew. And now it wants truth, not to shout, not to explode, but to stop pretending that silence was love. If this lit a signal inside you, comment, I see it now. Let's keep going. There's a pattern. And now that you've seen it, you start to name it. That's the first break in the spell. Language. You name the way he hovered, the way his absence was louder than other people's presence, the way your peace collapsed when you saw him in a crowd, not because of danger, but because of something more subtle, more violating, like being studied without permission. You name the way he got close through others, through mutual friends, through convenience, through checking in. You name the way you always felt chosen, but never free. That's the shift. Realizing that being chosen doesn't mean being seen. It means being projected onto. It means being shaped in someone else's silence. He built a version of you that always said yes. That always smiled. That was always there when he was ready. And when you stopped being that version, his silence turned sharp. You noticed the shift. The withdrawal, the disapproval wrapped in disappointment, the way his eyes said you changed when all you did was become more you. This wasn't your story. It was his fantasy, and you stopped playing your part. Now the whole script is falling apart. Let it burn. Let the silence unravel. Let the watching end. Because love does not hide. It doesn't wait in corners. It doesn't withhold until you come running. Love moves, love breathes, love asks. This wasn't love. This was a slow possession, disguised as devotion, and it ends here, with you seeing it for what it is and choosing something else. Now what weighs heavier? A, telling the truth, or B, keeping the silence? Comment A or B and tell me why. Let's continue. You're not cruel for naming it. You're not heartless for walking away. You're not cold for refusing to shrink anymore. You are returning to yourself, to your space, to the version of you that never asked for attention through glass. You want presence, you want clarity, you want to be met, not memorized. You no longer feel flattered by the gaze. You feel sick. Because now you understand he wasn't waiting for you. He was rehearsing control. He didn't love who you are. He loved the version of you that didn't know better, that stayed polite, that smiled in rooms even when her body screamed. But now your body is speaking louder. It says no, it says stop, it says not here, not again, not like this. Breathe. You don't have to respond yet. Just recognize what's happening. You see the pattern not just in him but in others, in how silence has followed you, in how you've been watched without being held, in how often you've been loved without ever being asked. And now, the reckoning. No more rooms you don't choose. No more shadows you mistake for safety. No more waiting to be told what you are through someone else's silence. You don't owe kindness to obsession. You don't owe patience to manipulation. You don't owe your peace to someone else's delayed confession. You get to leave, quietly, completely. You get to love yourself loudly enough that no one can mistake silence for permission again. And if you ever speak, let your words be fire, not to destroy, but to illuminate everything that was hidden under the false name of love. And now you're at the center of what you tried to ignore. No more pretending, no more smiling through discomfort, no more calling it nothing. You feel it now, not as confusion, but as clarity. Because this was never about love. It was about being watched. It was about being waited for. It was about a silence that always had your name buried inside it, and you've been carrying it for years. If this is stirring something in you, hit like and write your city in the comments. I want to know how far this truth can travel. Let's keep going. You told yourself he was harmless. You buried your discomfort under politeness. You questioned your own instinct, but your body never lied. He never said it out loud, but he made you feel claimed, not with touch, with attention that wrapped around you without ever asking. You weren't loved, you were imagined, turned into a version that suited his silence. That's not intimacy, it's invasion. He lingered. He remembered things you never shared. He stayed close enough to be seen as harmless, but far enough to never be held accountable. And all this time you were adjusting. Insomnia that won't go away, a tightness in your throat at work, avoiding eye contact when the air feels too heavy. You kept doubting yourself, but now, you know, if the choice had to be made right now, would you speak or wait? Write it below, speak or wait. Let's keep going, because doubt was never the problem. The real problem was how much you've been swallowing just to protect someone else's comfort. He called it patience, but it was pressure. He called it care, but it was entitlement, and you gave too much benefit of the doubt. Now you see the pattern, the rehearsed coincidences, the silent expectations, the way your peace never returned after he walked into your life. This wasn't loyalty. It was a slow possession, disguised as devotion. And now, the shift. You stop performing. You stop shrinking. You stop translating silence into something sacred. Let it be what it was, a strategy, to stay close without earning access. Breathe. You don't have to answer now. Just acknowledge it. You're not cold. You're not cruel. You're not bitter. You're awake. And now that you've named it, everything starts to fall. Not just with him, with every gaze that lingered too long, every message that wasn't sent, but still asked for your energy. You've been carrying stories that were never yours, and you're done. He didn't love you. He loved the idea of you before you had language to say no, but you have it now, and that changes everything. Your silence fed the story, but now you've starved it. Distance speaks. Your stillness speaks. Your refusal to bend says more than any confrontation could, and this is the turning point. You trusted, and you regret it. But now I ask you, what did that regret teach you? No names, just the truth. Write it in the comments, let's go deeper, because what you learned isn't about him, it's about you. You learned that love without voice is manipulation, that proximity without respect is intrusion, that someone waiting for years doesn't mean they were ever entitled to your yes. You are done adjusting, done softening the truth, done interpreting silence as romance. Insomnia that lingers, that tight breath, the way you flinch at just checking in. It's your body asking to be heard now, so listen. And even if your voice shakes, it's still yours. Breathe. You don't need to act now, just know. If this message hit somewhere deep, if even one sentence reminded you of what you tried to forget, don't keep this to yourself. Subscribe now, because the next video will go where no one else dares. Comment the part that hurt the most, write it raw, and share this with someone still trapped in the same silence. This isn't just a video, it's a mirror, and someone you know needs to see themselves. If this made sense to you, subscribe. Want part 2? Comment, I want part 2.